Hello, listener! I have a new features on the podcast. Now, you can click on a link, directly send me a message so that I can hear how has Beyondhood impact you? How does Beyondhood make you feel? It would be lovely to hear, and it's super easy. Go to the show notes. Above the description, there's a link. Say, click here to direct message. Once you do that, it will directly link to your phone. And don't worry, I won't be able to see your phone number. I'll just receive the encouragement or comment from you. Looking forward to hear direct message from you all.
Childhood, adolescent, adulthood, and elderhood. Welcome to Beyondhood, where we go beyond elderhood, one chat at a time.
Before we start, do you have one or all three of the following issues? First, do you want to know more and deeper into your loved one's childhood? Second, do you feel it is hard for you to talk to your loved one to understand them more deeply? They're often not as open with you because you're family or good friends. Or you find it hard to ask them questions because you're close to them. Third, have you thought of one day when they're gone, you can never ask them about their lives anymore? If any of the above comes to mind, our Record Life Story service is your solution. Listen to this episode and see how we can weave a story for your loved one and create this legacy for you and your loved ones. Contact me. My contact info is in the show notes. We're now on Patreon, a site where we provide rewards and perks to our subscriber, you. For as little as £3 per month, less than your cup of tea, you will get to see the exclusive Beyonders now and then picture. You walk around like a grown-up, without knowing you joined the most amazing and fun community to retrieve the ancient art of storytelling. Because stories shouldn't stop just because we have grown up. The Patreon site link will be on the show notes. Hello, Beyondhood listeners. This week for episode 10, we're going on a field trip to the Alzheimer's and Dementia Show in London, where we hosted a booth to share how Beyondhood's Record Your Life Story service can help to leave a lasting legacy for the family and older adults with Alzheimer's before it is too late. For those of you who may not be familiar with dementia and the Alzheimer's disease, here's is a simple definition and overview. But for more information, please do go to Alzheimer's Association, which you can find out about more. Dementia describe a group of symptoms associated with a decline in memory, reasoning, or other thinking skills. There are many different types of dementia exist, and many conditions causes it. Alzheimer's disease is the most common cause of dementia, accounting for 60 to 80% of dementia cases. Dementia is not a normal part of aging. It is caused by damage to brain cells that affect their ability to communicate, which can affect thinking, behavior, and feelings. We asked the question, what is your favorite memory of your parents or grandparents, and how does it make you feel to talk and record this story of them? To around 60 attendees, and we selected 20 of them to create this episode. Some are cares for people who have Alzheimer's. Some are older adults who have Alzheimer's themselves. And some are people who have lost a loved one to Alzheimer's. You will find various ranges of stories. Some people are natural speakers and love to share longer stories, while others like to talk about one particular moment. No matter how long the story is, the power of stories comes from the emotional connection between the speaker and the main character in the story. You will hear story all over the world, from London, Ireland, Canada, Hong Kong to Jamaica. No matter where are we from in the world, stories have the power to connect us as human beings, to get back to the essence of being a human, which is able to connect with one another and have love for one another. I purposely removed the identity of the speakers because not knowing who they are, you can then truly feel the power of their story. You can feel the love, the longing, the missing, the joy, and the sadness through their storytelling voice. This was a very emotional and fun experience for Beyondhood and the interviewers. We want to share with you the first-hand experience of what is it like to record your life story with Beyondhood. Let us dive into these stories.
My favorite memory of my time with my father, recently he came over and spent a few weeks with me in London, and he's always wanted to live in London. For me, like having time to spend with my father was like something which I really enjoyed because I was a working man at the moment. And like, to be honest with you, I don't think my father ever knew me as a working man because he's only seen me as a student. So for him to see me as a working individual, as a man in his eyes, it was a really proud moment for me personally. And to see that pride in his eyes gives me a lot of pride, gives me a lot of happiness. And especially I would go on runs with him and he'd be so happy. Wow, my son, and we're immigrants. So my son migrated here, is studying here, has worked here, he's earning his keep, become a man now. So yeah, that's probably my favorite moment, seeing my father, like seeing the pride in his eyes.
What was your favorite memory of your parents growing up?
My favorite memory, I think they are both very wholly family orientated. They had 6 kids, of which I'm the eldest. But they always instilled in us the biggest value of love. You know, even if you'd done something that you shouldn't have done, there was still that overriding, okay, draw a line under it, let's move on. You know, they just had, and they work so hard. I think that's it. They just work so hard for their family to be able to have, I'm not talking about material things, but in order to them to have, you know, sort of parents together. My mother didn't work when we were children. They worked really hard to support 6 children and his wife and a dog.
Oh, wow.
And they just put their family before anything else, really. And although it looked like he was working really hard all the time, it was so that he could ensure everyone was fed and watered and clothed and roof over their head, and so much stress. And many a times my mum would be on her own with 6 children and the dog, because my father was in the Royal Air Force, so he'd be away on different things. And she just, you know, it's just, as a child, you don't realise how much hard work and effort goes into making a happy home.
Yeah.
You know, because it was always, you know, Christmas times, birthday times, they always made it extra special time because obviously my dad wouldn't be working. And so there was always such fun and joy and things like that. But in order to create that, they had to obviously put their struggles and their hardships away. And I think that's just amazing, really, to, you know, that you can allow your family not to see how much struggle is involved in ordinary life, you know, washing, cooking, shopping, you know, that. So, because I just have very pleasant memories of my childhood. We were allowed to get on and just be creative and play, and they always provided us with something. My mum would encourage us to write poetry, or my dad would, if I had an idea about doing a play, he would provide some props, or what about this, or what. They always engaged.
I can see in your character.
I know. So, yeah.
Thank
so,
you
yeah.
for sharing that.
Thank you.
And how does it make you feel?
I think loved. And then, of course, what's happened is I have 3 children, so I've instilled that kind of philosophy that they passed on to me with my children. And it's not about material possessions. It's about creating environments where everyone's together having fun and joy.
Alison's story is a story of family legacy You learn something from your parent, and that consciously or subconsciously will have an imprint on you. And then you pass it on to your children.
My favorite memory of my father, I think, was when he took me to a women's championship golf tournament when I must have been about 15. And I loved the way he recognized women as, something that you would want to go see in sports. That's something that's been a long struggle for women. But this was a long time ago. I mean, this is in the 80s. He was an early advocate of women in sports. And even in his last days, he died in 2019, he told me he loved watching women's football and women's basketball better than men at that time because they played the way he remembered playing and the games were more interesting. I guess for the males, they were all like 7 feet tall. And so it became a different kind of a game. So
Thank you for sharing. How does it make you feel to retell that story?
it makes me remember him very clearly and it makes me feel warm. He's not around anymore and just a sense of love.
I remember as a kid going with my mom and dad to Vancouver, where they grew up, and to a little town called Crescent Beach, where my mom's family had a cabin. And we used to go down there and play on the beach and run and jump and fish. We spent just hours and hours and hours outside having so much fun just outside of Vancouver.
How does it make you feel?
It triggers positive memories for me. I remember fishing with my dad, and he was a terrible fisherman, and doing running races. It was just such a wonderful community.
Thank you for sharing. What was your favorite memory with this? Most memorable?
Lots of them. Lots of good memories. He used to take me up to Smithfield Market when I was young. It's like a meat market, and we used to go and buy lumps of meat and stuff. He used to take me out to work with him on a Saturday. Used to go up the allotment as well and help him do bits and pieces. A lot of memories. My dad's died 4 years ago, and he came over to England from Ireland after the war, about 1946, 47, and used to often talk about his experiences, what London was like. It was bombed out, parts of the city, how they'd changed, etc. And it's just something I wish that I'd recorded, because he's not here now, so it would have been nice.
Feel to talk about it now.
Bit emotional, little bit.
Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you.
No worries.
So what was one of your favorite memory with your dad?
One of my favorite memories probably is when I was a kid, coming home from school and playing on the PlayStation, playing Crash Bandicoot and Burnout until literally it was bedtime.
How does it make you feel to talk about it?
I say it brings back good memories, good times, sort of before what's happened now.
Thank you.
Katie's dad has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and she shed tears after sharing this story because she realized how simple things that we sometimes might have taken for granted is now a bit difficult for her dad due to the disease.
Favorite memory of your dad?
I think my favorite memory of the fact that it was every day, it was so regular, and he had a very busy life, a very busy job. And I think that was something that remained constant throughout our life, him dropping me to school every day. Yeah, I think that is what I miss about him. So I'm 28 now, but I still do miss that time when I commute to work.
Yeah.
Dad dropping me to school. That was cute. That is cute to me now. And yeah, I miss that.
How does it make you feel to talk about this memory with him?
I think it kind of feels a little bit sad, but it's also, I cherish those days. So it's nice to have that in my memories. Yeah.
Thank you. My favorite memory with my dad is when we play Candle for Mid-Autumn Festival.
Mid-Autumn Festival is a harvest festival celebrated in Chinese culture. During the festival, lanterns or candles, which symbolize beacons that light people's path to prosperity and good fortune, are carried and displayed or light up. Mooncakes, a rich pastry typically filled with sweet bean, egg yolk, meat or lotus seed paste, are traditionally eaten during this festival?
We used to light the candle on the box of the mooncake and then to celebrate, to look at the moon and to talk about life. That's one of my favorite memory with him. I remember his smile, my smile, and then we would play firework afterward. What was your favorite memory with your mom?
Just one thing. My favourite memory of my mum was actually her driving skills, which is a very interesting one because my dad was a very good driver. My mum was the opposite. She was very safe and she got us to school on time every day, and it was a big part of our day. And sometimes we had some hairy moments, but yeah, like I said, we got there safe and on time, which is the main thing. But yeah, that's a funny one.
You feel to talk about the story?
Takes me back a long way to childhood. It's nice to think of those things, but I don't normally go very often, being honest.
Thank you for sharing.
The favourite memory of my mum was her taking me to Maidstone on a bus, on a double-decker bus.
And how does it make you feel to talk about it?
Oh, it was lovely because they didn't have a lot of money, so it cost money for us to both go on there, and it was nice just to spend time with my mum.
Thank you.
In this story, you'll hear from Louise and Christina. They are daughters and mother. Louise is now taking care of Christina, just like Christina used to do for her when she was a kid. Christina has Alzheimer's, so it is more difficult for her to share story. But I want to capture her word to show you the power of even single words.
My name is Louise. I am a paid family carer for my mum, Tina, Christina, or Christine. She has 3 names, depending on who she's talking to and the occasion. All 3. My mum has an Alzheimer's diagnosis and we live together. I've been caring for her for 3 years. And over that time, it's brought me a lot closer to her than we have been. And I have started to think about my childhood and the time I spent at home. And I remember being kind of not as close to mum as I am now and being a bit sort of unappreciative of her. And then I started to think, actually, there were times when she really surprised me and did some really sweets. And I remember I was going on a school trip when I was about 10. And I was staying away from home for the first time. And I was really anxious and excited about it. And I remember mum saying, well, would you put together a list of things that you might think you might need? And I'll look and maybe I can get 1 or 2 of things. And being a 10-year-old, I produced this list of about 50 things I wanted. And it was all sorts of things from clothes to accessories to sweets and food that I wanted to take with me and just everything, bedding and cuddly toys. And it was just an enormous list. And I gave it to mum. And I wasn't really expecting anything. And I remember a few days later, I came back from school and our dining table was filled with every single thing on the list. She'd gone around and bought everything and she didn't have to do that at all, but she just was so kind. And I remember now being really, as an adult, realizing everything that she'd done. And she wanted to make it a happy and memorable experience for me. And I just think, thank you, Mum. That was really, really kind of you. I hope I said thank you at the time. I probably just tore into everything. It was a selfish 10-year-old, but now looking back, I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. How does it make you feel to tell the story?
It's good because sometimes, Mum and I have had a difficult relationship the older I got, and I was very critical. And it's lovely to think about a time when I was really happy. I was so honoured and proud to have her as my mum, and I felt close to her and she was showing me her love, and it was really nice.
How does it make you feel to listen to Louise speak about that story of you?
It's good things that happen in business.
Yeah. What is your memory with Louise? What was it like to be with her? Your favourite part?
It was always very cheerful, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. We did have fun together. It was always pretty good.
Does she like to wake up early?
I don't think so. If she did, I didn't hear
her. What was your favourite memory with your mom, dad, or grandpa, grandma?
My favourite memory with my grandfather was just sitting down in the lawn and having cream crackers of all the biscuits. He used to eat cream crackers. They were dry, not sweet, and I had a sweet tooth. But eating cream crackers with my grandfather was one of the most memorable things. It tasted delicious. If someone was to offer me, would you like some scones or would you like some cream cracker with your grandfather? I would say cream cracker with my grandfather rather than scones with the cream. So that much I loved that time with my grandfather.
How does it make you feel to talk about that story?
Gina, it makes me emotional and loved. Gina, I can feel the love fuzziness just thinking about it.
Well, thank you. What is your favorite memory with your grandpa?
My fondest memory of my grandpa was when we used to do trips to Lake Malawi.
For those of you who might not know, just like I didn't, Malawi is a country in southeastern Africa. It is defined by its enormous Lake Malawi.
And we'd leave the city, and usually our journey was 3 or 4 hours, so we'd talk for a while along the journey, and then the best time was when we'd all stop for lunch. Maybe we'd go to a restaurant or have a little picnic. And I remember my grandfather was a photographer, so he always used to take photos. So he'd always give me tips on what angles I should take the photos and little tricks. And I just remember it was a good family time.
I understand that your grandpa is no longer with you. How does it make you feel to talk about your favorite memory with him?
I think it makes me happy that we got to take so many of those trips to the lake because it was an important time, and he always explained to me about the life he lived and all the things he had done, and at least now I have a little bit of understanding of who my granddad was and all the things that he had done in his life. I think reflecting on my memories with my granddad, definitely Beyondhood would have been a useful tool. Because there's so much, just to hear his voice, just to hear his stories being told by him would be amazing.
Thank you. What is your favorite memory of your dad, grandpa, or a father figure you have?
My grandmother was a very aged lady who lived to about 100. And she was born in 1880 and died in 1980. And whenever you stepped into her room and you could enter via the back door. She left the back door open for the neighbours to come in. But it was like stepping back in time because there was a collection of her memories all around her with old black and white photographs, the Victorian era. And she'd been a nurse, so she always had Nursing Mirror, the magazine somewhere. But she was a great reader and she encouraged me to read books. She had piles of newspapers everywhere. And so she was a newsagent's dream. And she read all the newspapers and that kept her mind alive until she passed. And she also was an active person. And she always said to me, you must at least walk every day, if not run, be active, and you must read things every day. She never had a television, ever. She listened to the radio. And she said, between reading and listening to the radio, my life is full. I don't have time for a television. Mm-hmm. So it was rather like stepping into a different era because the radio programs she listened to were often like 10 or 20 years out of date. So it's Round the Horn and the Goon Show and things like that. So it was an interesting experience that also, especially so when she talked about her mother and her grandmother, which would take you in history, an oral history, back into the 1800s, which was simply amazing to have that firsthand rather than just reading a book.
Thank you for sharing that story.
Thank you so much.
How did it make you feel?
So it brought back images because I'm an image person. Some people have different modems in their brain, and I'm very much feeling image person. I love paintings and cinema and things like that. So it also evoked nice feelings because she would tell me things which were quite touching and gave you an insight into a particular era, even one that was very trying. So if we talk about the 1930s, this is when a lot of people were so poor they went to school with no shoes. But there was kindness between different people. And people would be rather supportive of one another if they were friends. So even in something which was quite austere, there could be compassion and humanity
Thank you.
Main memories I have of my grandparents. They died when I was very young, when I was like around 5, 6. But I remember when they were in bed, like late stages of life, I would go pick up flowers and leave them next to their bed. And I remember I was just like so excited to see their reaction every time. They probably were like, very low on energy, but they made a massive effort to like react really positively to it. That's really stuck with me because it was so exciting for me to just come and see their reaction to the flowers, even though they were just flowers that I picked from their garden. But it was very sweet.
How does it make you feel to retell that story?
I feel quite happy. I feel like it was quite a lovely moment to share, and also happy that I can remember that, even though I was very young, because it made quite an impact for me, and because I don't have many memories with them, because I was quite young. I think it's good to keep those moments kind of alive.
In this final story, you will hear from Joy's family. Her husband, son, and granddaughter came to the exhibition to find more information to support Joyce, who has Alzheimer's.
Vincent, what's your favorite memory or most memorable memory with your wife, Joyce?
When I went to his wedding, we had a good time. We remember this day.
Oh,
yes.
How does it make you feel to talk about that story?
Very, very good.
Thank you for sharing. What is your favorite memory or most memorable memory of your mom, Joyce?
My most memorable time for my mum is her taking me to the childminder, believe it or not. I recall being taken as a young boy to the childminder where we lived in an estate. She'd take me upstairs there, and I'd remember leaving and being a bit upset, but I'd always obviously remember when she'd come and pick me up.
And how does it make you feel to remember that memory and talk about the story?
It makes me smile. It makes me remember that time of my life. It's obviously a very young period of my time, but my mum's love. So something like that.
Thank you for sharing.
When I was younger, I used to stay with my nan quite a lot when my mum used to work, and we would be in the kitchen, helping her with cooking, cleaning, just spending time with her out in the garden. So that was nice, fond memories with my nan when I was younger. I spent a lot of time with my nan. Older, I would say sitting and listening to her stories in the kitchen, and, you take the pictures out, and then we'll be going through the old times when she was back in Jamaica, when she was younger, how things were, how she had granddad, and then when she came over here. Those nice memories. It's nice to hear the old stories, because it's almost like you try to visualize how that was for her and transcend. And those are lovely.
Then how does it make you feel talking about her story related to you?
It feels good because she does talk about the times when I, little mischief things I did when I was younger, and how I was always with her. I think she would probably say out of all of the grandkids, I was the one that was there the most, because I practically lived there, I think, at one point. So yeah, she'll talk about that, the things that I used to do, things I used to get up to. We just used to spend a lot of time together and have laughs, but it makes me feel good. Mm-hmm. It makes me feel good that she has those memories, or she had those memories. We had those memories together.
Now you listen to all of this story. What is your favorite memory of your parents, your grandparents, and how does it make you feel to think and then speak out loud about it? Record the story on your phone, write it down on your journal, tell it to a friend, however you like it. Keep the memories alive by recording it. Share with us. We might be doing another episode of this from you guys. Stay tuned. Thank you. Before you leave, if you love this episode, please stay tuned for our next one. If you haven't done so, please follow Beyondhood in your favorite podcast listening app. Or you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you found this conversation inspirational or interesting or valuable, chances are you did, since you're still listening. Will you do me a personal favor, a 6-second favor? Share it on your social, email, or tell a friend. Tell a person you know who can benefit from this conversation, who you think will be inspired by our Beyonder, who is navigating how to age with grace and motivation so that they can join and be part of our mission. You guys can discuss, When a podcast becomes a chat becomes an action. Then we're closer to create a community where we go beyond elderhood, one story at a time.
Childhood, adolescent, adulthood, and elderhood.